Hey guys, good to see everybody. So excited to have everyone here. Jody Humphrey coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We appreciate all of you being here so very much. We've got a great program lined up. James is getting ready to take us live, and I think we're ready to rumble. This is one for the ages, guys. We're ready to go. Here we go. Welcome to Wealth Wednesday, everybody. Jody Humphrey coming to you here in Atlanta, Georgia. Today's program is very special, and we're so excited to have each and every one of you guys here. Um, this is a great time. We live in the most wonderful time ever in many ways if we use it properly. We're obviously we It's a crazy world. Many things are going on and changes, but we're going to be on the cutting edge. We're going to make sure that you always have the tools for success. And if you combined the money industry with the LFS leadership system that we have, with the technology that you're going to see, then it's going to be life altering. It's going to be generation altering. We can go do now in 6 months to a year what used to take 10 years. And you're getting ready to see this. I think you're going to see that happen. So that's what this is all about. It's just a tremendous tool for us to go take advantage of this great gold rush that's in front of us. It allows you to go out and to duplicate yourself. It allows you to attract wonderful people. It allows you to train those wonderful people. It allows you to be able to go and to be able to go and duplicate that in a way like never before. It takes all these years of experience, just like it's just like before. So we want you to go take advantage of it. So let's rock and roll. Without any further ado, let's start off. Is Tim O'Rourke on? I don't know if Tim's here or not. It's quite all right if he's not today. It gives us time to go right into this, okay? Now, listen, guys, as we go into today's program, I want you to know my perspective on this as we start and as we go into this. You're going to hear from Mauricio Garcia. Now, Mauricio has been my partner in this business from day one. The day HGI started, we met almost the exact same time, and he's been here doing phenomenal things. But understand the uniqueness of what Mauricio's mindset. He first and foremost has been a financial planner, a team builder. He's recruited thousands of people, both in Mexico and in the United States. So he understands our perspective. So he's not a technology guy trying to figure out what we do. He's one of us that has learned the business and applied it to what we do and what can help us. So it's from that perspective. And so as you look at this, do not be intimidated by it, but understand that if we do not adapt, we will be the ones looking up and working for those people who do adapt. You keep doing what you're doing, just knowing that all these tools will keep getting simplified. They're already simplified more than they were a little while ago, but by the time the first of the year comes in Top Gun, they'll be more simplified than they've ever been, and they will continue to be. But realize that there's four components, and Mauricio's going to go back over those, okay? But understand that you've got the back office, which is Aristotle, which is getting better every day. It is fantastic. Gives you a dashboard of your entire team, helps you get paid, payroll, all those things for your organization. You've also got leader mastery, which will help you, so that you'll be able to go and do wonderful things off of that. And then also you'll be able to go and to use the other tools, which is Abacus, which you're going to hear about right now. And let me go and turn it over to Mauricio. So Mauricio, we'll turn it over to you, buddy. Let's knock it out. We're excited for this. So guys, listen to this. I think it's going to help you in tremendous ways. And I'm very excited for today.
Yeah, that was a great backstory, Jody. And first of all, welcome everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, 25 years in the field. So I feel your pain. I know exactly what you go through. I from literally starting in the industry, knocking doors and just understand what are the challenges that a financial professional goes through from the beginning until becoming a more rounded a planner per se, financial professional. But I want to also mention a couple things so that you can put in the
Put
right
in the right.
context. Yes, so you can put in the right context what you're going to see. I'm going to share my screen so you can see this because this the reason I'm going to share this with you is because it has a very big message in the end of what we can actually do. So there's a startup out there that raised in 2005. They raised $210 million, all right, in a Series B funding to solve one problem, to solve the problem of the medical industry where the doctors get MRI, CT scans, blood work, and they like us, and we also get financial blood work from the clients. We get all the data. And these doctors would take hours, days, analyzing a CT scan, an MRI, blood work. And so they've raised another 200 million. That's $410 million to try and solve that problem for the doctors. How many doctors are in America today? 818,000, according to the Medical Association. So, how many financial professionals exist in America? 900,000. There's actually a little bit more financial professionals, insurance agents in America than there are doctors. And there's a $400 million a tool that is basically being created so that these medical professionals are able to do things faster. Why is that important to us? Because what you're going to see right now basically is a solution that is going to save you thousands of hours literally throughout your career. And if you multiply that by the thousands of hours that is going to save everybody in your team, there's tremendous value. And therefore, I'm saying it is the greatest moment in time in history to be alive. I would say also because Hubert is a visionary, he's allowed us to be able to 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 take all of that compounded knowledge, all that experience, and then build it into with the tools that we have. We have someone like Jody, who is also visionary, who's got the experience of those 40 years in the industry, watching Hubert build those companies, and he understands what this means. And then you obviously have me, and there's a lot of great you of you there. But the reason I put myself in there is that I go to work every single day, making sure that we have the cutting edge tools also that it's going to help. It's going to set us apart. So what does that really mean?
Mauricio,
What was that
Mauricio,
whole? Yes.
well, I just wanted to point out that what I want you to understand the competitive edge that this gives us, guys. This is a massive, no one else has this.
Mm-mm.
No one else has this. We have the first mover advantage in the industry,
Yes.
not in the whole technology, but in the industry. So this sets us apart. And I think it's a great thing to lead with when you're recruiting. Just wanted to
Yeah.
point that
Yeah.
out.
Now don't be mistaken. What you will see is not just a typical other tool. This is it goes deeper by being able to analyze. That's why I was putting this other what is happening in the medical industry, which is obviously a lot of it's as important, right? I mean, what's better than even the wealth is your health, right? But you need to understand that when a family gives us the opportunity to sit down with them, their entire future, it's there, right? If we do this right, it means better lifestyle, better health, more longevity, more peace, everything. So, with that as a preamble, I would just say that if we know how to position this right, even if you have no client to run an Abacus analysis right now, you can go and recruit 900,000 agents that don't have this. They're paying thousands of dollars for tools that do 1/10 of what we're able to do right now. So you can bring those financial professionals, and then you can also give hope to the newbies that we call the greenies, people that are looking for an opportunity, all these hundreds of thousands of people that have lost great jobs from the government sector, from the Amazons of the world, from the wherever. There's just so many of them that are looking for a vehicle. So, with that being said, let's dive into what this is really. And I'm going to begin with just a quick, very quick visual here of the tools that you have. We are missing one, and that is AdFlux AI, which is I'm very excited about that, and we will go through that when we have it. So you have a fit pillar that's going to solve all your traffic issues. Because that's been, once I harvest my natural markets, how do I, and then harvest the natural markets of the people that I'm recruiting, how can I expand and have even more traffic? That's what Agent Flux is going to do. AdFlux, I'm sorry, it's going to do. But yeah, so we have Leader Mastery, we have Cyberzeus, Aristotle, which you'll have the opportunity to dive into that. As a matter of fact, Cyberzeus at 2:30 today. This is a commercial, right? It's an opportunity to invite you to join me at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time today as we dive into the evolution of Cyberzeus and what it's able to do now that it wasn't able to do before. But Abacus, this is the time. We have 45 minutes here to understand the power of this tool. So when you go into the platform, you create an account simply by clicking the login page. You're going to have, well, I logged in automatically, but if you're logged out, you can create an account with your HGI username and code. You create an account with HGI username and code. Okay. And so, but when you log in, which by the way, also for those of you that have been waiting for this to be in Russian and in Espanol, that is coming very, very soon, sooner than you think. The entire thing, the entire reports, all the concepts, it be completely in Espanol and maybe even Russian and because we could do that, but we need to have the foundation. So what this is, guys, right? It is a tool that has about everything that you can possibly need to be able to service somebody who just needs a little band-aid or somebody who needs brain surgery to solve their problem. In the analogy of the medical world, like if you just need a band-aid or you need an aspirin for a headache, you can have that here. And if somebody needs, heart surgery, you can also do that here. So, but obviously as a professional, you need to know these different tools and upscale your skill. Because in the end, is the skills you possess is what's going to make you worthy of a higher compensation. So don't be afraid, to go in there and learn a new skill every day. You have that one environment here to do it. So I say that because the F&A journey is a great place to start. The F&A journey gives you the what to say when you're in front of a client. It doesn't matter if it's a new recruit. It doesn't matter if it's somebody that already has millions of dollars in their portfolio and feels very confident that maybe they're even thinking, what do I need you for, right? I've got advisors over at Merrill Lynch and I've got at Morgan Stanley and I got this agent. Even to those people, because the basic, the foundation, the connection to them is understanding the basic rules of money, right? And so we have this thing called the 15 minutes of magic. It's a 7-slide presentation that goes through the core presentations. Now we made it not too cute to kind of resemble when you draw on a piece of paper, right? We could make it look like, we're in 2075 in the future, but the reality is it's sometimes just, it's like if you were writing it down on a piece of paper. You go through these basic concepts. And we call it 15 minutes of magic because you can go through 7 slides in about 15 minutes, you should be okay. Right? And then after the 15 minutes of magic, you show a little value and say, listen, let's find out if you have any gaps. Two of the main things, especially as we talk about the X curve, is do I have enough money to retire? And do I have enough protection now to protect my family in the event I don't make it? And that's what this 3 common goals presentation does. It helps you be able to immediately, within those 15 minutes of magic, be able to explain to a client whether or not they may have a gap. And that opens the door for you to be able to invite them to then take a full financial needs analysis, right? It's almost like, and I hate, I'm sure all of you have gone to the doctor, and no matter what problem you have, the first thing they do is they take your blood pressure. Like they sit you down, they put this thing on your finger, and then they put, that's the first thing they do, no matter what. You check your blood pressure. So it's almost like those 15 minutes of magic is that first go to those basics. And then you might need a lot of different studies, different analysis, then they do some blood work. And after that, you may need a CT scan or you may need just an MRI or vice versa. But just hope I'm making sense to you guys. So once you go through this, right, you're able to identify that. And so if you're like a new person, and even if you are seasoned, my invitation to you is learn this F&A journey, because if you understand it and if you apply it, it's going to be a lot easier for you to then transfer and communicate that to your new agent, because the speed is what kills in anything, right? The danger is the speed. And we, in a productive a context, it means that we need to be able to transfer our knowledge to our new people at a faster speed. And when you have technology that is a companion to accomplish that, then that's great. So if you do this right, you should be able to explain to the client our process, show them the 15 minutes of magic, take the financial needs analysis, and maybe even take an application for term. Because if you actually watch the 20-minute video that we have here on how to have this conversation, you're going to position that meeting to make sure that no matter what kind of planning the client may need, the one thing that needs immediate attention would be the um, the closing the gap on term insurance. For the vast majority of people, if there's any gap in the protection, that's like the first thing, right? Because we may come back 2, 3 days later and maybe address if you need to increase your income, if you need permanent insurance, if you need retirement accounts. You could do that in the second meeting. And that's why if you look at the way this is colored, we have blue, right? This blue line basically means what you want to accomplish in the first meeting. Now that's just for us internally here to understand. If you are an agent, like you look blue, this is what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming in the first meeting to understand so that the client understands what are the rules of engagement here, what we are, set the stage, set expectations. But I want to be able to take an F&A, right, and touch down with a term application. Because that's actually the right thing to do at that time. There's just no reason. If you identify there's a gap, you don't know what's going to happen right that same day or tomorrow, right? We don't know. That's the reality. So if financial planning takes months, you shouldn't take months to address the gap in term. Hope you that I'm clear with that. And then the green is the things that you can accomplish in the second or third meeting, which is okay, there is actually a need for permanent insurance, and you also have a retirement gap, and IUL happens to be a very uh, powerful tool that can help you in that. And then you can get to the specifics on how to position the IUL or the FIA to do that. But this journey, understanding this journey is going to be key. Now, where do you learn this journey? There is something here in the main menu called Super Agent Skills. And there's 2 videos here that are going to be your foundation. And there's some of you that have already gone through this, but there are some of you that have not. And so, and then obviously the millions of people that will be recruited have to go through this to understand how to use the tool. So first one is that 15 minutes of magic, that first conversation that's going to lead to the F&A and how to take the F&A properly. So once you have an F&A, guys, then it means that you now have, in the context of the medical field, the blood work. Now let's see what's wrong. And I'm going to go and I'm going to pick a client per se that we have here, a made up client that I named Diego, if I find him here. So you can see, if I look at what is happening, if I took a good F&A, if I took all the data, I should be able to, when I go to the overview section, I should be able to see almost everything filled out, right? And it could sort of like a quick at a glance picture: expenses, insurance, assets, income, retirement planning. Like I can see this. If I want to see more detail, I have the full details on everything I took from that client. And again, it's 15 steps. It takes about 2, 3 minutes for each step. 15 minutes, it's to 20 minutes is what you should take. And I'm telling you, if you think that is too much time to spend 20 minutes to collect information, you're going to take more time just trying to gather that same information when you're taking any app. Because even to take insurance app or annuity app, they ask for assets. They ask for, do you have the financial means to pay for this IUL? Does this annuity make sense? Why not just do it at that time? You accomplish, you kill three birds, five birds with one stone. You're saving time by being proactive in the gathering of the data, but not just that. Now you have the power to be able to come back and really help that family understand everything that could possibly be wrong. Now, here's what we're doing. This is just how amazing things are going to get, because now that I have all the data, if you were not using our tool, you would have to analyze all this by, first of all, where do you start? Where do you start? You have the data. It's like, okay, you have a blood sample. What are you gonna do, with that blood sample? So what we did is we gave you two options now: an interactive option to go through this information with your client, and a made for you, a done for you report you can just interpret. Let's go to the first one. Because you have the FNA, you have all calculators here that can respond to you within 4 seconds, not even 4 seconds, 1 second. I keep saying 3 seconds, 4 seconds. We're getting it down to 1 second. Anything you want to know for that client, you can dynamically go here. Let's just go to the basic, because I am so excited, obviously, and also fired up for the great mission of closing the gap in insurance in America, where 49% of the population don't have insurance, and the 51% that have very little. So you can go to the proper protection, and you can see it took just 1 second. It takes me longer to scroll down just to run the calculation to find out what is the right amount of insurance that I can speak to this client about. So I can have this conversation dynamically. And I mean dynamically because you can go here and say, well, what if I needed 15 years of income replacement? Well, what if I needed 20 years of income replacement? Because, we have a baseline for everything. Then I need a little bit more. What if hey, listen, I know exactly when I'm going to die and exactly the amount of income years that I want to replace, which is just about 5. So this is what dynamic means. You can basically go and change some of the things that are changeable. Listen, I could care less about long-term care. My kids are going to take care of me. So you don't need long-term care, right? So this is what dynamic means. You can go in here, you can say, hey, Mr. Client, let's talk about insurance and proper protection. There's this thing called term insurance, and then there's this thing called permanent. And they cover different items. Term is typically for that stage in life when you're working and you have financial dependence and you are indebted. And so this is very cost-effective way of buying money if you don't have it. You could buy $2 million for just a couple $100. Because how much is it going to take you to save $2 million? But why don't you just buy them with maybe 150 bucks, depending on your age? Just buy that, right? But then when that's over, you're going to have some long-term also things that you need to protect against, like losing your spouse in retirement, like making sure that when you pass away, you're not overpaying by the probate process of retitling all your assets, final expenses, heirs tax. You have a retirement account. There's $43 trillion in retirement accounts, guys. And most of people, 70 to 80% of the IRA owners are going to continue to defer because they're going to try to avoid the pain because that is the human nature way of acting. So they're going to try to just take RMDs. And so they're going to probably leave the world. And many of them, a large chunk of them, are going to leave money behind to heirs, and that's taxable to them. So do they want to pay that out of insurance cheaper, tax-free, or do they want to pay it off the IRA? And so this is what dynamic means, is you have that. So you have every one of these things you can dynamically move and change, right? Like build wealth. Let's talk about how prepared are you for retirement. You see, that took 1 second. It looks like this client is good based on what he currently has in savings and what he's saving every month. It looks like he's going to have more money than he needs to be able to have a comfortable retirement, because he only needs 3 million 21, but he's on schedule to have 3.6 million. But I can say, but listen, what if Social Security was not around? Are you ready to decrease your lifestyle a little bit? Because that means that 30% that typically is covered by Social Security is no longer going to be there. So that means that your nest egg had to be 4.3 million to be able to withstand a withdrawal amount of $18,000 per year and adjust that to inflation. That means you have to save 1486 more. But hey, what if you took a little extra risk and you earned 8% on it? And what if you actually retired at 67? Because actually you can't save more money. So if you can't save more money, then maybe you need a higher rate and delay, or maybe we can stay at the same rate but delay retirement to 67. So you only need to save 400 bucks. This is what dynamic means. But some people don't want to do dynamic and they want something already done for them. And this is where this new thing comes in. And I'm so excited to show you this. As a matter of fact, the latest update is not yet there. As a matter of fact, let me bring it up. Just stay with me. I'm going to show you. I'm going to attempt to show you the development world to see if I'm able to show, because I'm so excited about this one. Let me see if I can bring it up. And sometimes because it's in development, but I have great faith. This is such a special moment that it's going to work just fine. So what happened is that the same client, the same Diego that we've been looking at, if I just go to the client and say, well, I'm just want to see the financial report, it's going to take about 30 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds. It depends on the complexity of the plan. This is what doctors are going to be able to leverage with this company that just took $400 million to solve their issue. What is it? Is instead of spending 14 hours trying to create a plan. This is what people would pay three, four, $5,000 to a financial to a CFP just to produce for them, right? Literally. So um, you can now wait and now if you have to wait 30 seconds, seems like a lot, right? But it's also where the market's going. They're expecting things to be that fast. The market is expecting if you're gonna take like, moving forward in the future, if you're gonna take uh you know a month to come back with something, it just they're gonna move on to something that's a little bit faster. So let's see. How long was that? Was that more than 30 seconds? About there? Let's give it 5 more seconds. Five, four, three, two, one. It's gonna come, but that is more than 30 seconds. And what you'll see is the health score. So that was what, 40 seconds maybe? It was less than a minute for sure. So I guess less than a minute is okay. Less than a minute is okay. So what it did, it came back with a comprehensive financial needs analysis, and it gave the client their financial score. Right? Most people know their credit score, like Peter's saying yesterday. It's like I got this. My takeaway is the financial score. Can you ask people, hey, do you know your financial health score? If you knew you had out of 100, your health score was 60. Talk about the financial score. So what are the priority things that we found? We found that there's too much debt, insurance gap needed, build additional income, and fund education. So what this will allow you to do is, instead of going over their dynamic, this is a report that starts in the baseline. You can always go back to each one of these calculators and do dynamic calculations if you want. But it's also a great start for clients. Or maybe you could do dynamic initially and then say, listen, I'm going to produce a report the next time we get together. And this is why it's important. Because in our formula of the road to financial independence is increasing your cash flow, income optimization. But you need to justify or teach them why they need cash flow. Most people sometimes they just know they're struggling, but they can't really point to what is causing the problem. In many cases, believe it or not, they can't really pinpoint to what is exactly what's going on. They think they make $17,000, but in reality, their take home is 12,000. And so this is where this planning is so good because sometimes we as agent we say, well, how much money you make, how much you make. Well, we combined make 17,000. Okay, how much you spend? Well, we think we spend 10,000, and you think you have all this extra cash flow, and you don't. That's why they don't keep the policies for as long as they should in many cases, right? Because they're going to cut things like insurance in many cases if it means that they need to buy food. And we don't want that. At least we want to tell them exactly what the problem is and how to fix it. So yeah, you make $17,000, but your net take is 12,000. That means and your expenses are 14,746. So it means you actually are in a monthly a negative cash flow of 2,697 before you need anything for planning or additional planning, because sometimes this does include, like, the net take home pay already includes 401k contributions. It already includes insurance that they may be paying through the employer. So before any additional planning is the right way to say this. Before, it's just we have to fix this gap before any additional planning, you know, because to do any additional, it means we have a negative 22% savings capacity. But you can still go and say, but here's the first thing we want to address is that when we're thinking about increasing your cash flow, one of the reasons we want to increase your cash flow is because setting yourself up for success, meaning being able to be retired 25, 30 years, it's going to require not just planning, but commitment and cash flow. And so let's take a look at where you're standing in terms of the retirement nest egg gap. You see, based on just looking at the picture, because of what you have saved so far and the amounts you are already contributing to your retirement accounts and all those type of plans, it looks like you're going to be okay. You actually have a surplus, right? You may have a negative cash flow because of your lifestyle, but because you are already saving and you saved in the past in this profile, it looks like you actually have a surplus. The problem would come in if there's no Social Security coming. Then you would have a $700,000 hole that you would need 1486 to be able to close. So the decision here we have at least, and maybe they'll say, you know what, Social Security is going to be around, not worry about it, it's fine. But you're having that conversation, right? And then if you need to explain a little bit deeper, you have the numbers here to explain the scenarios. Sometimes you don't need to get into every single number, but you have it there if you need it, right? I'm a great big believer that as you execute and you do, then you find exactly the pieces that you need to explain, the people. But if somebody wanted to know, you'll say, at least where are you getting this data from? Well, this is how much you're spending right now. And unless you're planning on spending a lot less on retirement, which is not really what happens to most people, you're going to need 28,312. Like if you're spending at this amount, you actually need 28,000 because that's the inflation adjustment need. And so that means that you have to be in a position to withdraw from your nest egg $339,000 per year. But if you have Social Security, like we're saying here, you only need to withdraw 237. So how big does your nest egg needs to be? That's the point, right? And so you can go through that card of what if Social Security is around and what if Social Security is not around. But if Social Security was not around, we find that we have a combined, right, like scenario without Social Security. We have an expense gap of 2,000 to 697. And then we also have a retirement savings gap without Social Security of 1,486. So under this scenario, they need to increase their income by 4,183. And so you can ask them, what is your strategy to reduce or to increase your income by 4,183 a month? What do you have in mind? Because that's what we need. Unless you want to say Social Security will be around, let's not worry about that. Let's just close your lifestyle gap. Because one thing I know is you fight every day to maintain and even improve that lifestyle. Most people want to go up in lifestyle, not down. So just to maintain it without going into debt every month, it means you have to increase um, your income by $2,600, almost 27. So listen, when I was working at the factory assembling batteries, Paola came in and she gave me an opportunity. I don't know if it was for me, but we do have a retirement crisis in America. We have an insurance gap in America. And so what we provided as an opportunity was a solution is to open the doors and train the people that can see themselves being part of that solution. When they come in, they establish a retirement type of account for one family that could earn you the money you need, at an R&D level, which is basically once you have gone through our training and and have a little team, become an RMD. Very easy to get to that position in a few months, but you'll be able to close that gap just helping one family a month. And we can talk about that eventually. That I couldn't just not provide you a solution if you don't have one right now. And if you wanted to solve for both, say, Social Security would be great if it's just a cherry on the top, but I would like to be in a position where even if Social Security was not around, I could maintain my lifestyle. And so I need to figure out how to make 4,000. That would be two families' help in our model. That's $5,600. Okay. Any questions here? I do want to, instead of just being fully monologue, or maybe we wait to the end because wow, it's going fast. Okay. Time is running. I will just invite you guys to stay a little longer if you can. Let's leave the questions to the end though, so that I can kind of go through this. So what I'm showing here is that you're able to produce this and then get to the debt management piece and say, okay, we have some urgent things that we need to address. Your debt to income ratio is 55. So if you try to get a home, if you're trying to get a car, if you're trying to get anything, it's going to be higher interest rate because of risk. You have a 55.4 debt to income ratio. That's too high. It needs to be a lot lower than that to be able to qualify for a mortgage or any type of loan. And we've also identified that you have some debt, consumer debt, that's over 25% interest rate. So we need to, get a hold of that. And so what it is you're paying $9,000 a month. Out of those 14, 9,000 is paying debt. That's why your debt to income ratio is so high. Okay. And so this is a summary of your debt. This is how much you have. You have 765,000 in mortgages and 266 in consumer debt, which is obviously your personal loans, your student loans, your auto loans, your credit cards with Bank of America, Capital, Discover, Wells Fargo. And these right here that are highlighted are the ones that are really, that we can find somewhere that can lower that rate right now. Okay, and save you some money. And so we analyzed 12 different standard strategies. There's 12 different strategies that we have. And our tool, our algorithm, is able to take your information and found what is the best way to address like the way you're going to handle debt is different than your neighbor. It's different than your coworkers. It's different than your friends because everybody has a different solution. Most people would just do the avalanche or the snowball. That's just 2 out of 12. And not only do we have 12 standard, but we do custom hybrids. And we understand your complete financial picture to come back with what is the best solution. So for you, Mr. Client, this is what we found. Because you have $280,000 in liquid assets, you can strategically use a portion of these funds to make a significant dent in your high interest debt. Specifically, targeting those with higher rates first. This approach leverages your liquid savings without completely depleting your reserves, maintaining a buffer for emergencies. By paying off the highest interest debt first, you will save a substantial amount of interest over time, reducing your overall debt burden more quickly. This strategy aligns with your conservative risk tolerance and primarily goals of achieving the lowest payment possible. The math shows that you can save $191,000 in interest, and your monthly payments will decrease by $2,000. So you can go through the specifics and the steps, and then we're going to show you in next future trainings how you're able to take sometimes immediate action to find what are the lenders right now with lower rates than what people have for their auto loans, their consolidation, if they need a consolidation loan. And this is based on their credit score and their income and their debt to income ratios. So you know that um, will be able to help us. And there's a great few updates that are coming to guide you exactly on how to be able to address this. But here's what I like about it. Many advisors, agents avoid having the getting out of debt conversation because they're like, I don't make any money on that. Like you don't make any money on debt elimination. But here we do. Because if let's just say if a client's able to take their credit cards that are those higher credit cards out there and they're like use one of these cards right here, you're gonna save them $700 a year. If it's a 45-year-old, I'm sure that's probably close to $1 million worth of coverage that is paid for by the amount they can save by, refinancing some of the debt that they have. Right? So sometimes it's just finding the money. Not only can we help you increase your income, but we can help you restructure the way you are managing that debt. And we find $1,000 or $2,000 that you didn't have before, and it's just consolidating some of those high interest debt that you have. So we'll get into this. I just want you to see that you can now have that conversation and make also some money, even though you're not going to get a commission from, let's say, SoFi, right? That's okay. As long as they can help my clients save the money, I can use that cash flow. I can find the money for them. And then we have the next strategy, which is the emergency fund. And what's beautiful about the emergency fund is that it explains, there's a baseline recommendation that says that you got to have 3 months worth of living expenses or 3 months worth of your income. And that's the standard, but there are other things to be considered to really arrive at what is your proper emergency fund. So when we begin at the baseline, the base recommendation is 3 months. But because the wife has 1099, is the employment is self-employment is not as stable, right? At least it's more the way it's looked at it traditionally is you have it's a little bit more inconsistent. So you add one more month to it. And if you have dependents, like in this case, 3 children, you add another month and a half. And it says here, single income households need a larger cushion because if that one income stops, then there's no backup. Dual income households are have built-in protection. If one person loses their job, the other one helps carry. So this only needs, you actually take away a month because both of them have an income. So in reality, you have, let's just say it's 5 months. Well, I don't know why it says -5, but we'll see. It's saying 5 months is your amount of emergency fund. And obviously, in this profile, we have more than enough liquid assets. So this is obviously going to adjust to whoever you're looking. Whoever you have in front of you is what this will adjust to. And in this case, it's saying, look, if you're going to have an emergency fund inside of where an emergency fund should not be in a savings account because savings accounts will pay you 1%, less than 1%. That's $7 a year on the $73,000 that we suggest you have as an emergency fund. But we do have some vehicles that you can explore, right, that pay higher rates, like the Goldman Sachs or the Ally Bank or the American Express are paying 4.5% for 4.3, 4.25. This is live data, by the way. This comes live. Okay, this data I'm using right here is coming from today, like right now. So if the Fed changes, here's updates 10/5 at 12:33. Today is the 5th, isn't it? November 5th. So whenever I produce this, checks the live rates of what's out there. But what it means is that if you were to have that money in emergency fund, if you use a high yield savings, you're going to earn $3,000 per year. So that's $3,000 you can put in an IUL because they don't necessarily need to add 3,000 more to their emergency fund. The emergency fund can stay at 73. Those $3,000 can go towards savings, towards planning. So yeah, maybe you didn't make a commission by establishing a high yield savings with markets by Goldman Sachs, but you did find $3,000 for that client. So you need a money market. Here's the money market rates. We have Vanguard Cash Plus with 4.9. So they can go and establish these, and you're gonna save them that money. So now having a conversation about emergency fund all of a sudden gave you $3,000 that you can redirect to planning. Yeah. And then we move on to the next conversation. And I think if you're sitting down with the client and you're just kind of explaining this to them, imagine the value and the respect and the just how in the eyes of them, you're not just out there trying to sell them something. You're showing them why they need it. We're really delivering what we promised we would do.
And the trust level goes way up.
Yeah, trust level goes to the roof. Because if somebody else comes later, they're just going to try to push an IUL. They don't have a full plan, and you do. And if in this world of recruiting a lot of people and knowing that not everybody necessarily is going to stay, the fact that they have a plan and now the product they got from us, from you, the term, the IUL, the will, now they have a full plan. It wasn't just consume to consume, but it's part of their plan. They don't want to destroy their plan. Does that make sense? So this will increase persistency like never before, which means you keep more of your commissions, which means we are the preferred distribution channel for the carriers. There's so much great things coming from spending 15 or 20 minutes just going through the client. And this is the details, by the way. Then you can get to the dime, the right amount of protection they need. Now you have all your tool tips, and I'm not going through this again because I guess the 90 or 80% of people here, actually we went through this at the beginning of the presentation, but this is just another way to be able to show this conversation, what is the gaps. So the client has a gap of 2.3, the spouse has a term gap of 2.4. A permanent gap of 726 and a permanent gap of 476. How many of these items do you want? How many do you don't want? Some people are like, oh, that's too much. Well, that is the reality. Unless you don't want to have the funds for your children to go to college, then you can eliminate that. Let's cut 400,000 out of here. You don't want the mortgage to be paid if you pass. Let's cut that out too. You can cut all these, as many as these items as you want, but that doesn't mean they're not real. Maybe affordability wise, you can't afford it. Yeah, we see that. But at least what would you like to have covered if something happened to you? Because I can't afford 2.5 million, but I definitely just want to replace my income. That would at least keep some stable. Okay, let's have 1 million. Does that make sense? But you're educating them on what is the right amount. What is the problem? 41% of Americans don't have insurance, and the other 51% don't have enough. And we're the ones going in and saying, this is what enough looks like. That's why if you begin the younger and the healthier is the better, because the cheapest. If it's just income, let's figure out how to do that. Let's generate more income. Let's go to the budget, see what we can cut. It's going to be easier for you to earn more than it is to cut lifestyle. And then we move on to the wealth. And this one I love because, kind of goes, you can use the dynamic. We gave you a little bit of dynamism here, just a little bit of it, where it kind of goes back again to the amount you need if you were, with Social Security or without Social Security. But basically, it's the same number that we're looking at. And, what I love about this piece, though, the wealth and build in retirement is that it gives the potential solutions where you're saying, look, you have 600,000 saved today, and you're projected to have a 3.6, and you only need 3 million. That's fine. But let's take a look at how can you actually improve your lifestyle. You see, if you use an IUL, well, it's saying you need 3.2 million. So if you grow the 3 million in a traditional retirement account, the most popular one being a 401k, it means that from the 3 million based on the 4% rule, you can expect to only withdraw 120,000. In a 27% tax bracket, which is, we're assuming that that's not going to change. It's going to use the bracket you have right now. um, that you're gonna net. Oh, after the taxes, I'm sorry, you're gonna net 88,000. Maybe I should have a full disclosure because the federal taxes is 22, but with state and federal, that's 88,000, right? So if you have the IUL with 1.5 million, it can produce like actually more than that. Um, and so being able to position it in that way, and then obviously the second part of this section is going to show you, it's going to allow you to show them when they actually run out of money. Um, if somebody is already retired, you're not going to see this because they are already retired. It's just basically going to go to say, if you have already saved what if you've saved up what you currently have, it looks like you're going to be okay. But if, on a 7% return, 2.5% inflation, but if there's life events, like, you do home renovations and you have medical things and you take care of elder parents, well, that money, with everything else being the same, it only lasts to age 87. But what if Social Security was cut? And what if the market crashed? And what if you had healthcare, like inflation? That only goes down to 81. And this is the average cost that people incur, typically. If Social Security was cut by just 25% more, it's already scheduled to be cut by 20 some percent by 2032 or some number like that. Maybe Zach's got that data. But according to Social Security Administration, we're already on track to Social Security be cut by 20 plus percent. What if it cut by, more? What healthcare cost, long-term care? How about market crash? How about double taxation? How about higher fees? So, these things are not considered in many cases, and these are the things that we need to fight against. What about life events like home renovations, medical events, supporting adult children, elder care? How about travel when you retire? So that gives you a whole different illustration here. How long would it take for the money to run out? And I think that's also important to see with them. We'll continue to simplify this for sure because this is a great base, but you know, education is another one you can get into because when we took the FNA, we asked them, what school type of school you like to send your children to? They say public, in-state, great. How much money do you have now saved for them? 3,000. How much are you saving a month? $100 a month. Okay, so current cost is 45,000, everything included. And if if we project that cost and add it to 4 years, that's 423,000. That's what Axel's education will cost in a public in-state all paid school. And you're only on track to have 44,000 based on what you have. So you need to save an extra $1,000 a month. So that means you have to earn even more. Maybe you do have to build a team in HGI. Because now if you're talking about education, right? You have 11% of what you need. Because see, the 44,000 today, if you adjust that to inflation, when Axel is 18, his first year is going to be about 98,000. His second year will be about 103. His third year will be 108, and his fourth year will be 113. Yes, we're talking 17 years from now. That's inflation. It looks like a ridiculous number, but just look 20 years in the past, and you live in a ridiculous number today. New six figures, right? And so we're definitely have to do work here. At least now, hey, these things, it's a challenge. It is a challenge, right? Because we not only do they have a challenge to maintain, be able to be good in retirement, but now you have to talk education. You're like, man, we'll have to figure out a way for them to pay, or if you're going to pay half of it, are they going to pay all of it? You're going to pay half of it, or you're going to pay all of it? But at least this is the cost. Somebody's got to pay it. If you're going to pay it, it's going to be this. The same thing for Leonardo. Same thing for Jimena. And of course, down here we don't trash 401ks, we don't trash 529s, we don't do that. What we do is we position, and naturally they will see the advantages that IUL has. Because traditional, conventional wisdom and media pushes the 529 just like they push the 401k because they don't understand the value that the IUL has. but that is up to you to be able to explain that in that moment, right? So then we move to seven, which is estate planning. And this one, guys, I love this one because it takes the current assets and it estimates what would be the cost of probate. And it's not the highest, not the lowest, it's in the middle. The cost of fees to transfer assets is typically between 3 and 5, but that's just the beginning. Most of us just kind of go with that. Oh, you want to have a trust to avoid probate. Guys, it's a lot deeper than that. And even though we're not attorneys, you never want to portray yourself as an attorney and nothing like that. But you, because you're looking at this from the financial standpoint. And what it is that based on this client's particular current situation, if you're to pass and retitle and have no trust and assets go to probate, you're looking at a $54,000 expense. But there's a lot more. Here's what I did to you. Here's what documents that you need. This is high a priority in terms of documents you need. You need a last and will and testament. Sometimes when you do this F&A with people, you may not need a trust. You may not need or you, it says last will and testament, but you do need a trust down here. Okay. And I don't know if it's here or not. Last will and testament should have a trust. But because anyways, if you run the dynamic calculator, it will do it. But this is what you'll see here at the end of the day today. This is the new update that will be done today. It's going to be ready for you to use no later than today. But what I love about it is that it shows what goes wrong without this document. If you wanted to go through the client and say, first of all, estate intestacy laws decide who inherits your asset. Strange family members may inherit instead of the intended beneficiaries. Court appoints guardians for minor children, and it may not be who you want. Right? The probate process, 12 to 24 months, instead of shorter times. Family disputes. And it gives you a real world example and says, Prince died without a will in 2016. His 200 million estate spent 6 years in court, right? Among siblings with legal fees that exceeded 10 million. Multiple heirs fought over assets that could have been clearly simplified with a trust or will. So what does this document protect? So in every document, you can say, what could go wrong, real world examples, and what does it protect? What could go wrong if you don't have a advanced healthcare directive? Real world example, you have the great, very viralized Terry Schiavo case. If you guys remember what happened, it took the family, it says here, she became a 15-year-old legal battle between her husband and parents over the end of life decision. Medical costs exceeded $1 million, and the case went to court 14 times because she had no healthcare directive stating her wishes. This happened in my family, and I have a family member that lost that I had to spend about $1 million because of this same thing. 21-year-old cousin of mine got an accident, hit himself in the head, was in a vegetative state, and no health directive. So any document you can kind of go through here to kind of educate what goes wrong without this document. Real world examples and what you actually get with. Make sense? So you have all of it, include the trust and all, to get into that. And then finally, somebody asked last night, so I didn't sleep. I apologize. I just came and worked on a one-pager for all of it. If you just want to have the one-pager, like, hey, this is the sort of action. Your health score is 60, total action is 2 critical issues. Here's the snapshot of financial key metrics, what immediate actions should be, what is the short term, and what is the long term. Means it addresses everything in one page and it has a personalized financial priority inside. Diego Garcia, 46, you have 19 years left to retire. So let's prioritize. Secure term life insurance covers your $4 million gap immediately. This protects your family's income in case your ultimate demise. Address negative cash flow. Just reduce expenses or increase income by $2,697 per month. This will help you manage your high debt to income ratio and free up more money for savings and investments. Pay your 266 consumer debt. Use liquidity savings to clear this debt, reducing interest payments and improving your financial health score, and also reduce debt to income ratio So you're going to get a key insight of what needs to be addressed like immediately. Like this is just a priority insight, and then you have a tackle these things. Boom, 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 immediately. Address negative cash flow, get the right amount of insurance. Um, reduce debt, pay off the debt, consider permanent insurance, address education funding, create will and trust. And so that's your one pager. That's obviously going to get even beautiful for you to be able to print. But so hopefully this wasn't like trying to drink from a fire hose, but it gave you a why if you take an F&A, it's going to take you a lot less time to go through the actual to reading the 7-page report than it is spending hours and hours and hours trying to come up with a plan. And obviously that addresses the term and the IUL and the annuities and all these other products that you can get into, or what you recommend. So, Jody, I'll throw it back to you.
Yes.
And
Well, listen, this was phenomenal. Thank all of you for watching. James, if you don't mind, go ahead and ending the live portion on YouTube. Could you do that? Let me know when you've done that. And then all the rest of you, if you could stay for just 1 minute, I've got a couple of things to tell you. I think would be very helpful to you. Just some thoughts on this. So pay close attention to this. Understand this: that a lot of times people have despair in their life because they don't have hope, and a lot of times they don't have a plan. Like people would love to learn how to use technology, they just don't know how. Or somebody would love to get in shape, but they don't really know a plan. But they would love to learn to play the guitar, they don't know a plan. This gives people a plan, and I love this. And also, when you're sitting down with somebody, pay close attention to this verbiage. Okay, when you're sitting down talking to somebody in a normal world, right? And you show them that they can make additional income by being part of our company. And what's real important on this is that some people take and love to building a team. But I can tell you a way to say it for you to position this going forward. If I was in here, I'd say, okay, Mauricio, I noticed that you and Lorena, obviously there's a gap here, and it looks to be a pretty big gap, but I got to wait for you to help us. It says we work on referrals, and we're going to be asking you to recommend our services if we do a great job for you. I said, but there's a way for you to create a revenue stream for yourself by becoming a preferred referral partner with us just by the cost of a license. We can show you how to do that so that you create revenue just by helping other people do what you just saw. But we also have a component that creates a residual income leverage piece. If you're interested in that, also, we can follow back up with you. That is a perfect way to verbalize. There's two ways into this. And that way you didn't overwhelm them, jump into things. So just walk through that again. Say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Garcia, we see this gap here. We got to wait for you to make that up. We're going to be asking for referrals anyway, because that's what we do. We build our business on doing a great job for people. But there's a way for you to become a preferred referral partner with us just by the cost of getting a license, which is a fairly simple process. You're able to create any of the people that I go do business with that you happen to refer me to. You can make half the revenue stream. But also, if you're interested in creating a residual piece and a piece to create leverage for yourself, we can show you that also. So I wanted to tell you that. The other is that what you just saw was a recruiting video. It's phenomenal. If I'm out talking to somebody, I say, look, we got the greatest history in the world. We got a system that never fails. You can be on our team, which is the best team. And all, by the way, if you want to see what our plan of action is in the future, watch this video. And then they see the power of this, and they're like, I want to be part of this. One last thing is this. Most people don't even know what questions to ask AI. What Mauricio brings to the table is he gathers all the things that he knows that we need. And also, you may think, and by the way, you did a wonderful job, Mauricio. You did it methodically. You did not go, there was no feeling of us being overwhelmed. It was fantastic. We will also, in a week or two, go over this same thing with Leader Mastery so you can see the other piece that we have. But man, today was awesome. I was asked by a few people, how can they use this tool? How can they get a hold of it and use this?
that's a question to
Mauricio?
me. You go to abacuswizard.com or hgiuniverse.com. There's two ways to get that, and just sign up for it. If you want, since we're still here, you basically go to HGI Universe. I kind of like this route because it keeps in mind where what are the tools you've got, and you go to Abacus and you just log in here, and obviously
And
it's
what's
going to,
required for their login? There's no cost to
yeah,
everybody. Understand that
yeah.
what you're seeing
There's no
here,
cost.
no cost.
This
And
is
they'll need their what? Their password,
but you do
username, and
need to be an
password.
HGI associate, so it needs your HGI username and code or code.
All right, thank you. That should answer the question I was asked by a few of you.
Yep.
The final thing I want to tell you is this. Let's say you go see someone that's just starting out or they're restarting in life. And you may think, I don't want to go over all this with them because they don't have any insurance and they don't have money saved. You know what? You may not have to go into the deep end of the pool, but if you treat them like they're going to have money, they love that.
Yeah.
They love that. You go in and say, look, we know you're going to be successful. We're going to show you some of these tools. And they love this stuff. Give them a little hypothetical. Say, look, if you could just put away $500 a month and get you to this, here's what you really need. We could get you to it. They will act that way. So treat them. So I just wanted to say those things. We create hope for people. We have Mauricio as a tool. This video that's be put into our YouTube channel. To me, if I'm out recruiting somebody, and then once we get them going, they want to know, hey, where are we on the cut? Everybody knows that they don't want to be the victim of AI. They don't want to be the victim of lack of. When they see that we're on top of it, it's a great tool. It's a good look, and it builds tremendous confidence. And confidence equals recruiting and building, which all things need to lead to anyway. So fantastic job today. Thank you so much, Mauricio. And we will not be having this call next most of us that are on these or will be in Hawaii. So 2 weeks from today, we'll come right back and rock and roll. Thank you guys for an incredible month last month. November to remember is here. Let's finish this year strong and get signed up for Top Gun. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.